we got patch notes. Am I recording? Okay, I am recording. Okay, good. Let's seamlessly go from one to the other. Alright, patch notes, let's see.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm joined now by Mr. JC, our Lord and Savior. JC, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. What about
Calm
you?
down.
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
I'm about to eat all the holiday goodness.
What is
So
that?
yeah, we've got a
Lead game design. All right, let's see.
We got a lot going on.
All right,
we got a lot of patchy notes to talk about.
Quite a few.
So yeah, let's
If any
start
of my
off
five
with
get
hero
nerfed, I'm slapping
improvements,
everyone. Just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm not slapping
that
anyone.
makes sense for me. All right. So
Who's getting what?
we're going to start with Lawbringer, right? So
Lawbro buff?
for Lawbringer, we've adjusted the speed of his dodge shove attacks, right? So front dodge shove.
Okay,
now firing on
nice.
MS,
You actually
700.
really need
The
that.
side
needed
one
that.
is
So it's
553.
nice little speed up for
533 rather,
the
down from
shove,
700.
for the funny move.
And we've
Good,
also
good.
updated the recovery for them to be 700 instead of
Nothing
4.
on the long arm,
Basically,
but this is very nice.
at the
This is
speed
good-
they were
this is a
at,
good little
they
buff.
weren't really functional as openers or dodge attacks. So by doing this, we're really hoping to get Lawbringer a bit more opening ability. But
Okay,
to compensate, so the idea we had before is that they were safe when they were dodged or whatever. They were like really, really difficult to punish, but they were really easy to avoid. So now we're trying to do the opposite, like we do with every other hero, which is they're harder to avoid, but they're easier to punish. So that's what we're going with Lawbringer for this.
I think that's a welcome change. I know that's something I've
Very
seen
much a welcome
players
change,
ask for a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Agreed.
So should really
Very
help
good, very
Lawbringer.
good.
All right,
Oh.
Nusha. Right?
Nusha.
So Echo Strike is now unblockable. Now,
What?
if you don't really know Nusha that much, I'm sure chat right now is freaking out a little bit. Echo Strike is her deflect attack, right? So Echo Strike is now unblockable,
Let's
which means that it will no longer be auto block if you don't
Oh, that's really
change your stance,
good.
whatever you do when you perform it. So it'll always land, which is awesome. It's a really good quality of life change for Nusha. And it also deals 20 damage.
Nice.
It used to deal like a really, really high amount of damage because you had to kind of like do some shenanigans to make it work. With this, at least, it'll always land. 20 damage is in line with what we have with a lot of deflect attacks.
That's nice.
So it should work quite well. It's way better.
Very nice. I don't know what
so
question
we should
jab
get
and
there,
jab and
quite
step
well.
are, but
We've
those
also
being
increased. We also made the crescent jab and crescent step, which are front dodge and side dodge lights. They're both enhanced. Again, like we want to give Nusha a little bit an easier time to get into her chains, get into opponents. If something is blocked from external front dodge into
these are
light
some
or
buffs
whatever,
you absolutely
and you have
needed.
a
I
bit
actually
more
fully
chance
agree
of
with
getting
this.
into somebody's face.
And then
be
the
able to
heavies
defeat
got
them.
fixed up.
And we've also adjusted the time at which crescent jab, which is the front version, could be performed during the front dodge, right? So it used to be at 300 ms static. Now it's it's 100 to 400, so you can do it earlier. You can delay it a little bit more. Gives you more versatility there.
Nice.
That,
So
that works really, really well.
Timing adjustment
And
there.
on top of
nice,
that,
nice,
we've
nice.
also updated all of her weapon trajectories for side heavy attacks.
Nice, that's very
her
good.
weapons visuals a little bit better, and to be fair, they're also a little bit bigger than her weapons to give her better anti-gank. One of the problems that Nusha has, on top of being a reflex guard hero, is that it's kind of hard to defend yourself when you get a bunch of people jumping onto you. So now you should be able to do her side heavies and get some people off of you at least a little bit more. So that should help there also a little bit. Get her
I might actually check.
like a little bit higher up. Like she's not gonna be like the end all be all character, but at least those are really, really nice quality of life changes.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
I'm
Good
so
job.
pumped because I've seen the comment of like give Nusha an unblockable for literally years now.
Yeah,
so
there we go.
It's so
There we go.
good to
Very
see
good.
it. Like,
Yeah.
Definitely
actually
check that out.
I'm super happy about
this
it.
patch
so
comes
that's
out.
good. All right, now
we didn't forget her.
Yeah. Peacekeeper, right? So for Peacekeeper, we focused a bit on making her dodge attacks or side dodge attacks be a bit safer, right? So side step strike, which is a side dodge heavy, used to have like 700 ms of recovery on miss. A lot of people were able to kind of like side dodge into guard break on reaction, which was kind of bad. So we've really, really lowered the recovery of that attack by quite a bit on miss and on block. Or not in terms of luck and on
You can't
hit,
see my face,
to make
but
sure that
my
the
face
move
is
is a lot
contorted.
safer to use in a lot of situations.
I don't like it.
And as well, the
Peacekeeper
riposting
sucks.
stab, which is a deflect attack, now there's a medium hit reaction instead of a light, so you get better from advantage afterwards. If you do nothing, you're from advantage. If you want to go into chains or whatever, you get better mix up afterwards. And it also has a lower recovery on hits, now 400 ms. So it used to be longer. Again, here we're trying to give Peacekeepers attacks, like a lot of her dodge stuff and her deflect stuff, to be a bit safer, be more usable, and have
Instead of
like
just,
a bit more utility in a lot of in different situations.
spamming the
PK
blink
mains
attacks over and over
rejoice.
again, and
Oh,
that's
yeah.
it.
All right, now Raider nerfs. So Raider is a character that's
Oh.
still a bit overperforming, and we wanted to make sure that the hero was toned down a little bit.
Okay.
Not
Yeah, no,
massively,
this is
but
okay.
enough that you kind of feel it a little bit. And so fighting the hero is going to be less frustrating. So first off,
Okay,
the
this
stamina
is good
pool
changes,
is now
good changes.
120, which is like the standard stamina pool for most heroes. It used to be at 130, and on top of having a lot of
Okay, stamina
soft
change.
feints,
Stamina
Raider
change not
has
me doing too much.
like feels like he
But-
never
but the
runs out of
attacks are
stamina.
good.
So at 120, it's gonna help that. It's gonna alleviate that a little bit. It's not like he still is really stamina efficient, but it's not. I have infinite stamina now, so that should make a bit difference. And then
Yeah,
we've
so you
nerfed
can just like smack
a
the piss
lot
out
of his
you and
attacks
you can't do anything.
for their damage down a little bit, right? So chain top heavy now deals 28, chain side heavy now deals 26. So they used to deal 30 and 27, mostly because the finishers now deal 30 and 28, and the zone attack and chains also deals 28. So the idea here is that we want to cap damage for those finishers at 30, like we've been doing quite often. And so we wanted to have Raider's damage to be a little bit more in line with what other heroes have, on top of the hero having like really huge trajectories, hitting a bunch of different people, getting to a lot of stuff. So that should really help quite a bit in the situation there and get be
Okay.
less frustrating to fight against
I'm
Raider.
ear-
So that should be pretty good for
frustrated.
everybody involved.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just get him back down into like you know, a decent tier.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
Into A
Maybe
tier.
nerf?
yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
nerf?
Right. So
Maybe?
it's really just a case of how do we make the hero less frustrating to fight against without annihilating him, right? So that's
Right,
kind of
right.
like the big deal here.
It's like, don't do what you did to
Yeah,
freaking
no more
Hizo.
like 4 Raider
Yeah.
comp memes. Like, no.
Yeah, right. So okay, so then pirate nerfs. So we're doing one last round for now, at least, of pirate nerfs.
Really?
So walk the plank now deals 24 damage instead of 27. Again, it's to lower the damage output of walk the plank. You get a guaranteed 5 damage shot afterwards. All those dodge
Honestly, her
cancels, all that kind of
last-
stuff. So we wanted
her
to make
last
sure
big
that
nerf was actually pretty good.
the move is still good, it's still usable, but at the same time, it doesn't do like way too much damage. But we also adjusted how much revenge it feeds
Okay.
to 30. So it's as if it dealt 30 damage, but it deals 24 in terms of revenge only. So again, we want to like make sure the ganks with pirates are a little bit less effective. So that's one big way to have that, to crank it up a little bit, just enough that okay, well, it still works. They're still good, but it's gonna be much more difficult to do repeated ganks, repeated walk the planks back and back and back to go to kill somebody,
Okay.
to go from 100 to 0 really
All
efficient.
right.
We've also lowered
the
the damage
logic
of
is
Cavalier
sound.
Dance to
Makes
12.
sense.
That's front dodge heavy. It used to deal 14. Again, a lot of these things are we're tweaking the damage here to make sure that like Pirate has different choices and different options, and some of them have drawbacks and some of them have benefits, right? So
Right.
when
right.
we designed
Okay.
Pirate, a lot of what we were going for was have her have a lot of different options at any point in her kit. That's why there's the dodge cancels. You can dodge into side heavies, front heavies. You can go to walk the plank. A lot of different things. And
Okay. Makes
because
sense.
those options were quite strong, we're doing a bit too much damage. It kind of made the choice
Okay,
less
your logic makes sense.
impactful, right? So now if you want to go into a front dodge heavy and then get the armor, get the extra damage, get the flow going, well, you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit more damage. If you're going to walk the plank,
That's fine.
yeah, it deals more
Yeah, that
damage,
makes
it deals
sense. That
much
makes
more
sense. Okay,
damage than
okay.
going Cavalier Dance, but like there's those trade-offs here that we really want to focus and really have an emphasis on player choice and expression and going, well, I play Pirate this way, you play Pirate that way, and so it's a little bit different.
Right. So, you actually
So
have
that's
different
the part of that
styles
nerf, and then the
play.
next
Okay,
one
yeah,
is
yeah,
a
yeah.
nerf, but it's also more of a bug fix, which is chaining timings from every single attack that leads to pistol blast on miss, right? So only when you miss with your attack, the chaining timings are 300 ms up from 200, and that is because we had an issue that if your attack trajectory would hit an opponent after your miss timing on somebody, or even after you hit your main target, or if something happened and you hit an off target afterwards, you
Okay.
could target swap to them and then do a pistol blast, and that pistol blast would be guaranteed because the chaining timing was very, really short. I've seen a lot of people talk about this on Reddit. We've had discussions with pro players there. So with that
was
being
that?
at 300
Okay, I'm gonna
instead
turn
of
the
200,
subtitles back off.
should really eliminate
What-
those
what was
situations
that?
and make sure that character should really eliminate
noticed that
those
right now.
situations
Piece
and make
of
sure that character
blood.
is a lot more
That's
fair
funny.
to fight against and get into like that better feeling of fighting a pirate. I know some players find her like oppressing and difficult to fight against. So
She's
hopefully
not really
these
all
changes
that
will really
hard to
help
fight
in getting
against. She's actually pretty easy to fight
that
nowadays.
level down a little bit and make the character still feel good, but not feel as bad to play against sometimes.
But JC, I was so enjoying glitch swapping, shooting everyone in the face.
Right?
Why would you take this away from me?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah.
No, it's a good change. It
definitely.
needed to stop.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go to other improvements that are a bit more miscellaneous-y. So Warlord, uninterruptible stance. That's armor for people who don't know yet. On Warlord's heavy finishers, now it starts at 100 MS. It used to be 300. So at 100, it'll help the hero be a little bit better in group fights and be able to use those heavy finishers a bit more efficiently. We've also done another change to Centurion. So now there's two things, right? So every single move that could chain to jab on hit or block can also now chain to jab on miss. So you can do now jab, light rather, and if your opponent dodges it, you can go to jab afterwards. So that makes a bit of a difference here. Like it gives Centurion better ways to go into the character's mix-ups and get into a bunch of different things there, so that's really good.
See, why
and we've also
Glad thing
updated
back?
some other things to get that jab and the punch to really feel better and have track dodges better. To get that to work, we had to do two changes. First, I'm going to go to the second one because it's a little bit more complicated, but basically the maximum charge time for jab is now 1000 MS, up from 800. This might seem like a nerf, but in actuality, if we wanted it to really correctly track opponents that are early dodging, we needed to have that timing there. So you're going to charge for a little bit longer, but to compensate on top of this, the minimum charge is now 300 instead of 4, which means that in a lot of situations, people are going to have to dodge jab a little bit more on read than on reaction because you can have a little bit less time to react to it.
Okay.
And then them dodging earlier means that the full charge they're going to have is going to be a lot more likely to hit them. So I know there was a lot of discussion about this, that we had fixed it. We had done a lot of changes to help it, but it was still situations where it wasn't working properly. So with this, it should be working properly in most situations. So it's really going to help in those really weird edge cases that happen a bit more often.
Delete button, charging.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, next up, Gladiator. I know a lot of people have been asking for this, and we've actually brought it back. So Fushina Ictus, which is toe stab, we've brought back the fact that it unbalances opponents that are out of stamina, and we brought back the old animation where you hit them in the toes, punch them in the face.
So good.
Yeah, I know people were really sad when we removed it, and we kind of had to remove it when we did that rework, because otherwise it created situations where Gladiator was way too strong and somebody was out of stamina. You can do I don't remember how much, but an incredibly high amount of damage. But now that we've actually patched in and changed the way that stamina gets back to full whenever you get up, it means that whenever you land a Fushina Ictus and your opponent falls down, they're going to get back up to full stamina, and you're not going to be able to
okay, you know what? Makes sense.
to go back into that mix-up over and over and over and over again. So that should make quite a difference here. It should be really interesting.
Okay, you know what? Fair enough. I
Kyoshin,
still don't like it.
Tengokaze, which is a down stance heavy, like the full block stance heavy, now costs 12 stamina instead of 20. We wanted to make sure that Kyoshin had a bit more options that were more stamina effective, stamina efficient rather, to be able to open up opponents. So that's a big change here. 8 stamina doesn't seem like much, but it's actually a big deal in a lot of situations.
You know what this?
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at the Zhanhu nerf.
Zhanhu, so a bit of a nerf to the character's heavy finisher's damage. They now do 28 instead of 32. So first of all, 32 was too high, regardless, right?
Yeah, no,
and then
that is too high.
We picked 28, and we went down to that level because Zhanhu has a feat called Winner's Advantage, and we don't want to nerf Winner's Advantage and remove a lot of effectiveness from it.
Right.
But it causes your next attack to deal a lot of damage, which meant that Zhanhu, after pretty much every single hit, could deal something close to 38 damage. So by
Something
reducing the damage of his heavy finisher's baseline, we also lower the damage that Winner's Advantage ends up giving for Zhanhu. It still goes above 30, but it doesn't go massively above 30. It doesn't go to 38 or something, which was completely crazy. So that's a little bit lower. Should help out a lot in those situations. And last but not least, for Shinobi, the dodge kicks now pin for 800 MS instead of 1100. That should help. That should help a lot of gang situations. Like the Shinobi was able to use the dodge kicks, pin opponents with them, get their opponents to be in that pin reaction for a long period of time, get a guaranteed heavy from an ally. You barely had to time it. It was pretty easy to do. With this, You need to be able to throw that heavy quicker, earlier, more, a bit more on read almost. So it's a lot harder it should be harder to set up these ganks, but the attacks are still guaranteed afterwards, like for Shinobi. So it shouldn't impact the hero in 1v1 situations, but in gank situations, it should make a big difference. And on top of that, Shadow Strike, which is the light attack that's guaranteed after a parry, now deals 14 damage instead of 18.
Good.
And we made that change because that attack leads to a really potent mix-up for Shinobi, and so it gave Shinobi a bit too much damage, a bit too much pressure whenever he was landing,
that is
like
that
even a
is
heavy
much,
parry. Right? It dealt too much damage baseline, and then on top of that was giving a really good mix-up. So we lowered it down to a more normal level of damage for a light parry punish, for a heavy parry punish rather, and you get like more standard damage here.
All right, makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I'm excited for him to not basically be like just a ham-slapping samurai nail gun anymore.
Why? Because good grief, man.
It was out of control.
Yeah, that needed to change there, so that was pretty good. Okay, so we have other improvements, right? So this is a big one. Yeah, we have the FOV slider, which is now available on console, so that's really, really good. It's a great improvement. So we're going to show you like two different screens, what it looks like. This is the default field of view, right? So this is what it looks like when you're normally playing on console, and you can't change it. On PC, you can, but on console, you absolutely cannot. You could not change it, but we've made it so it can be changed. So we could go to the next slide and see this is what it's at its largest setting. So you see that the difference is the camera's a bit more pulled back. You see wider. You see more of your characters like legs and stuff. So it really helps in a lot of situations.
So
shouldn't really have any impact on
for
frame rate or whatever. So that's pretty good. And it really helps you play in a lot of situations to see like a lot wider. So that's really, really good in my opinion. There.
All right, very good.
Hats off to the team for like the optimizations that have happened in the game over the lifetime of the game.
Yeah,
because I know back in the day
that's
this used to wreck consoles, and now like it's no problem.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, no, very good, very good.
Awesome.
Excelsior.
There. Yeah. Okay. Another thing we're doing in this patch is we're improving some things about executions. So if you knew, or maybe you didn't know, so I'll explain it to you, right? Is that some executions, not all of them, mostly the newer ones we've been doing, some of them from the early heroes didn't really have that issue, but a lot of executions would force you to go out of lock when the end, either if you got hit or at the end of the execution, they'd force you to go out of lock, created a lot of situations where opponents could come in and get multiple hits on you because you were out of lock, and you get different hit reaction when you're out of lock, and then it was hard to get to get by that. So we've removed that completely. So no execution should ever force you to go out of lock when the end. That was a big undertaking. We had to go into every single execution that we have in the game. We had Ben,
a lot of
some of you probably know, go into all of them and like do a lot of changes there. So like kudos to him. It was a lot of work there.
That's a good
and
change.
a lot of work on the
change.
tech team as well to make sure that we had like tools to really test that out. And the other thing is that some executions also forced a specific stance when they ended. So it would force you to go like top, left, or right. And it would really force it. That's also been removed, so you always stay in the stance you were in if you keep locked in when you perform an execution. So again, that's a lot of like quality of life improvements there, but it's very important so that your executions are actually safer and you don't get really heavily punished for performing an execution.
Yeah, that's kind of
you can use them all. Use
Yeah,
anyone you want now.
Oh,
All right, and
nice.
then I'm super happy to say that the Valkyrie and Tiandi reworks are now live. So
nice.
super cool. We're really happy. The testing rounds went well. We got a lot of feedback on both heroes.
Very good, very good.
So we're super hyped. So Valkyrie stayed relatively the same. Like most of the things are unchanged. We know that the hero, like a lot of the feedback we've gotten for Valkyrie was that the hero felt maybe like a little bit different, a little bit odd to play, but then a lot of people also mentioned that once you do get into the groove and you get to understand the character, she works way better. And it's actually interesting. It's a new mix-up that we've put in. So we've decided to keep her mostly as is. There's some improvements you can see in the patch notes. You'll see like the changes that we've made from the current, like from the previous live Valkyrie to the new live Valkyrie. We're not going to go into details because it's too much stuff there. It's going to take like we all have other things to do. I'd love to be here for 6 hours, but I think people will kill me. So that's it for Valkyrie. But for Tiandi, I have a couple of notes, so we can go. So for Tiandi, the hero also, the rework went really well, right? People really liked it. There was a lot of stuff there that was appreciated. A lot of quality of life, a lot of good stuff, but there was also some more negative feedbacks that we've addressed. So first off,
full ballerina
we've
dance.
reverted the dragon dodge changes. So that means that in the testing grounds, we had tried to speed up the side dodge heavies a little bit so that they could be more effectively used as dodge attacks and not necessarily as repositioning tools. But as it turns out, a lot of players actually gave us feedback that felt bad. The soft feints from it were hard to do, and players were mostly using it to reposition, and they really missed that functionality. So we heard you, we listened. It's back to how it was. So great job there. I think this is why we do testing grounds, right? Sometimes there's feedbacks about things that people don't like, and we're like, well, okay, it's reasonable, so we're gonna put it back. What this means is for Tiandi, if you want to be able to do more reliable side dodge attacks, you have to do tiger dodges, but you have to delay them a little bit, which was still possible beforehand. So if you were doing it before, you can still do it now. It won't be a problem. We've also reverted the dragon kick soft feint to dodge removal, right? So by that I mean right now on the live Tiandi, if you do a dragon kick, you can soft feint the dragon kick into a dodge, and you can go into tiger dodges or whatever you wanted to do. And so we had removed that in the testing grounds because our feeling was you could feint dragon kick, so you no longer needed that soft feint. But again, a lot of players were like, well, no, actually, we really like to have that soft feint.
Having an option to soft feint anything
to be fair, dragon dodge can still be hard feinted. And it might be better in some cases to hard feint because then you can get parries off of people dodge attacking. So that might even be better. But if you want to soft feint to a dodge and go into tiger dodge or into whatever you like to do, you totally can now. So again, that was reverted. You can get into what you wanted to do, so that's good.
Have all the options.
Right, yeah. And then finally, we had changed the delay timing to top dragon dodge. So you can do it only a little bit later into the dodge. And that was because we didn't want to get into situations where you would do dragon kick into top dragon dodge and then repeat over and over and over again and get that kind of vortex feeling.
Yeah.
We really wanted to encourage players to use the new follow-up we've done for a dragon kick. But at the end of the day, this had a really big negative impact on the safety of some attacks. People like to do a palm strike into a top heavy before the rework that had armor. And so with this, you can actually do palm front dodge, dragon dodge, and get armor back earlier to be able to train with different things, right? So that was it was a bit of a puzzle there to get that going into where exactly things needed to fit. But this means that sometimes after a dragon kick, you can land a dragon dodge if somebody hit a wall or whatever. But in most cases, you shouldn't be able to. We did a couple of other tweaks. So I would say go look at the patch notes, look at what we've done, and you can test it out and see for yourself. But we really have a good feeling on Tiandi and Valkyrie both. I think they're a lot more viable. They're a lot more fun to play. They're super interesting characters. So fun. Again,
I might actually play these two a little bit
better.
Yeah, because it's amazing, right? And so big kudos to the team. I know everybody worked super hard on this, and I want to thank the community. A lot of players gave us a lot of good feedback on this. Exactly the kind of feedback we'd like to see. And even in the case of Valkyrie, when it's, I'm not sure, I prefer the old Valkyrie or whatever, but then that's why those testing rounds run for a week, and then people can give more feedback and go, well, actually, it feels different, but in a good way and not in a bad way. So we really pushed for this, and I think we have the best iteration of Valkyrie we've ever had. So I'm super hyped about that.
Yeah, and it just underscores the importance of testing grounds and the feedback that we get from that, and players being really honestly specific with their feedback. Because general feedback of I don't like it is fine. But it really helps us when you're like, oh well, I really liked XYZ, but ABC I didn't like. Then we can really hone in and fine tune, and that's where we see stuff like reverting the Tiandi dragon kick stuff, or dragon dodge stuff.
Okay, and replace it with
that's great. I'm really happy. So keep it up. We have more TG stuff coming later in the show. So again, I can't wait to get people's opinions and feedback on that as well.
Let's go.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time with me, JC, to go through all of those changes. There's so many.
Makes sense.
I'm glad that the Lawbringer mains have something to be happy for.
I can play Lawbringer more now.
Nusha mains as well.
Sweet.
We didn't forget about Nusha.
That unblockable.
Yeah.
But I'm going to bounce out. Josh is going to jump in here, and then you guys are going to talk testing grounds. So I'm going to skedaddle. I'll be back later, though.
All right.
Let's go.
Thank you very much. We'll talk to you later, man.
All right. Peace.
How's it going?
Let's
All right.
go.
And you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.